Yeah, everybody's talking about the course. Gonna ruin it by adding this climb. Gonna ruin it by taking away that one. You know what? It's a 7-hour bike race with a climb 6K from the end. If it does end in a bunch sprint, it's not like anyone got there without earning it. Oh, right, did I say 7-hour bike race? I meant to say 7-hour bike race in the cold, pouring rain. As the TV came on, the day's big breakaway was 6 riders with around 7 minutes advantage, with Cannondale, Green Edge, and Giant Shimano pitching in on the early pacemaking when they weren't trying to stay warm. Riders were back and forth to the cars all day, getting less wet gear. Here's Trek's Fabian Cancellara getting some new gloves and also some new friends who know he'll get an easy ride back up to the group. It's hard to express how much of today's racing simply involved survival. The break dropped from 6 to 4 with essentially no change in pace. Katusha's Luca Paolini attempted to spray warm tea on his hands, and United Healthcare's Mark DeMar had to have his energy bars unwrapped for him and then stuck into his pants before they became soft enough to chew. Despite this, and despite the race organizers literally having to vacuum water off the finishing straight, the more traditional sort of racing did eventually take place, with Katusha and Cannondale increasing the tempo and making serious dents in the brake's advantage over a trio of long rolling climbs between 50k and 40k to go. The breakaway was down to 2 by the Cipressa climb at 27k, and traditionally this is where the attacks begin. But Cannondale's Alessandro De Marchi absolutely pinned it, stringing the field out with pre-race favorite Peter Sagan glued to his wheel. Only Astana's Vincenzo Nibali, who's lost small group sprints here before, jumped clear of the field but elicited surprisingly little reaction. It didn't matter to Nibali, who continued on to pass the leading duo on the inside of a rain-slicked blind corner between a stone wall and a cliff. Honestly, I don't think Nibali considers the conditions bad unless the road is covered with an oil slick that is actively on fire. The Astana rider's move was promising and oddly prompted a somewhat panicked response from Lotto Bellasol's sprinter Andre Greipel, but De Marchi once again asserted himself at the front of the field, and with help coming from Lotto, Omega Pharma Quickstep, and Sky, brought the reigning Giro champs' advantage down to 15 seconds by the foot of the Poggio, with a mere 9.7k to go. But the field still seemed reluctant to make the catch, spreading across the road until Trek's Gregory Rost powered away solo past the Italian. He was soon joined by Bardiani CSF's Enrito Battaglin, but the duo's advantage faded under attacks from BMC's Philippe Gilbert, Paolini, and Belkin's Lars Peter Northug, none of which were able to establish a meaningful gap, leaving the first 30 or so to come over the top of the Poggio together. As decisive as this descent can be, no particularly big risks were taken, meaning almost everyone stayed together. Almost everyone. Sorry, Andre. Paolini started the lead out from around 1.5k, and while he didn't break any legs, he strung the field out with teammate Alexander Kristoff on his wheel, keeping the Norwegian at the front and out of the battles further down. Still, Kristoff might have found himself at the front too quickly had not Gilbert been ready to take over almost immediately. The BMC leadout seemed sloppy, but was actually pretty smart. At 300 meters to go, Greg Van Avermaet was poised to hit the front with a ton of speed, a clean rear wheel, the other favorites bunched on the opposite side of the road, and Gilbert ready to shut the door behind him. But instead, Van Avermaet's drivetrain failed. Looks kinda like the chain fell onto the little ring. By 200 meters, Lampre's Sasha Modolo was in the lead but had been eating wind for almost that distance. Behind him, Cav's ready to launch and has Stibar taking up space behind him, but let's look over at Cancellara, who has his choice of wheels to follow. The Trek rider goes with Movistar's Juan Jose Lobato, but over the next 50 meters, Kristoff, who'd been the coolest hand in the bunch, finally decides it's time to uncork. Stibar has Sagan successfully boxed, but he can't protect Cav from looking over at 100 meters to go and making the spirit-crushing realization that Kristoff has half a wheel and isn't slowing down. Cav's implosion effectively shuts down the right-hand side of the sprint, nearly resulting in a Gerard Chilik sandwich, and leaves Cancellara plenty of time to punch the air in frustration as the wheel he didn't choose seconds earlier cruises across the line for the win. I'm Cosmo Catalano, and that's how the race was won.